It's a habit, it's an addiction, it's a compulsion, some might say. The whole watch collecting hobby is very much like collecting anything in life. It can enrich your life in strange and unexpected ways, or it can cause you to scroll through eBay for hours on end with very little reward. And mine has been a mix of both. Rewards and the occasional lost day or week hunting down something next. I've made lists, I've made spreadsheets, I've even done a PowerPoint where I could flip from one watch image to the next, trying to see how they fit into my life, or which I liked more, and what I want next. These were the early days, I'll admit, and over time I found a more comfort in what I want and what I don't want. Now, if you're in the early days of watch collecting, there's no shame in being indecisive or wanting to buy almost every new watch or classic watch that's ever been released. You want to wear each brand and get to a feel for them, and all of that is valid. And for some of us, that feeling lasts for years. In my case, it did. So how do I decide what's next? How do you decide what's next? These are my 3 simple steps, but the last one is still the most important. Step 1 is to figure out what you can't stop considering. It's a simple task, really. There's a watch that's been nagging you in your mind for days. You've stared at it on eBay or on watch forums. You've seen reviews from it from every major channel that you can, and sometimes the same video multiple times. Right? You're in watch infatuation, and it's a good place to start, but it doesn't always mean that that's the one for you. So step 1 is an either or. Either you go see the watch in person, if you can, or, as I understand that not everyone can get to see the watch that they want in person because everything is online these days. And often it's not possible because you're not lucky enough to have an AD right next door. And even then, they may not have stock. So either you go see it in the metal or you wait. And this is the hard part. Now, that's because a lot of these watches that you're infatuated with are just because they're new. But the hard part in waiting, because it's not my strong suit either, is that the fact that it's important. If you wait after a month or 2 months and you really haven't gotten over that you want that watch, then clearly you need to go to step 2. But the same is true for seeing it in the metal. Like, you may go see it in the metal and realize, I'm not really wowed by this watch, because I've had that happen a lot. Right? Like, I love the images online or in videos, but in person, it just doesn't do it for me. And then, well, your decision is made, so you can move on. So step 2, let's say you really love the watch, you have to have it. Let's say you're really interested in the Speedmaster. Now, I know that I'm gonna ruffle some feathers here, but the next part is true. Let's say you're interested in the Speedmaster, but you're not sure which crystal to buy, Hesalite or Sapphire. This is the perfect practical test. While step 1 is all about impulse and quick feelings, the second step is all logic, right? You have to decide how you're gonna wear it. Do you have 6 daily drivers, 6 go anywhere, do anything watches? Because if so, you probably don't need another, right? Unless that's your thing. So what do you actually wear? What do you do, right? Hesalite crystals and a warehouse environment, in my case, are not a good combination. They don't mix. They're like oil and water. Unless you plan on taking Polywatch to it every other day, right? You're gonna be annoyed with the fact that scratches are always there. Also, if you wanna stretch out of your comfort zone and buy a pink watch, like the new Chrono, maybe you try to stretch into something pink that isn't $5,000 first, and then consider whether or not you want that watch. But what you'll actually wear is very important, and really a key part of what you should be deciding in what watch you want next. Do you see yourself wearing this a majority of the week and being able to get away with it? If that's the case, then that's a good idea that this watch is the right fit for you. Now, step 3 is the important one, and to be honest, that's being honest with yourself about how it makes you feel, right? How do you feel about the design? How do you feel about the brand? Because see, stories are built into us as humans. Many of us believe in the story of Rolex's growth, or that Tudor is the exact same but at a lower price, or that anything over $200 is overpriced and stupid. Right? These beliefs can take many shapes in this hobby. We can often get a little twisted around by other things that matter much, much less. I've spoken about this in a few other videos, but value is one of those things. If you think about emotional investment in a watch or interest in a watch, value is like a multiplier. The more of a deal you think you're getting, the more that emotional investment or interest in the watch multiplies. But I've bought like expensive watches, and then after I've received them, I've realized the deal didn't matter. Right? I wasn't going to make that watch a regular part of my rotation. And the tough part is that a year from now, that deal that you got isn't gonna matter whether or not you can keep it or don't, right? The deal was just a push to purchase, but not the reason for the purchase. So don't let value sway you. The things that should sway you are kind of what we talked about in step 1 and 2, and then the rest is gut and belief. And unless you're a rare breed out there where brand isn't important, then you should really realize that brand is important. As I said about stories, brands are stories we believe in. Like rewriting your beliefs is really difficult, right? Like if you believe that Rolex is a big achievement, right? Then trying to tell yourself that buying an Omega or a Breitling is going to work just as well is probably not going to work as a replacement unless you see the Omega or the Breitling also as a big achievement. But this is the problem. A lot of people will want a particular watch but buy something else to try to substitute and then find out that it doesn't actually do it because what they believe that they will feel with that watch or what they believe about that brand is what brought them to that first watch to begin with and not the substitute. So you could still grow to appreciate those other brands if you don't believe in them now. Similarly, if you believe Grand Seiko is overrated, you're probably not someone that's going to go out and buy a $6,000 watch just to see if you're wrong, right? Like brand is important in the value you place in the watch you're considering. But the quality of the watch you're going to get realistically is the same. Once you've crossed several $1,000s, the incremental differences from a $4,000 watch to an $8,000 watch are minor. The feeling is the difference. Like you may tell yourself that grade 5 titanium in this Grand Seiko is worth more to you than 316 stainless steel, or that 904 stainless in Rolex is worth more to you than 316. But in the end, the technical aspects, especially between grades of steel, are used as a justification for us with the addiction to give ourselves enough reasons to make the purchase, when all that really matters is that we simply wanted this particular watch. And lastly, a note that I want you all to keep in mind, and I think this is very important. I've seen people with collections worth tens of thousands of dollars, and they still talk as though they don't really have that good of a collection because they don't have a Audemars Piguet or a Vacheron or a Patek. It's part of this social climbing thing or brand climbing that we have as humans or as collectors specifically. These collectors are always feeling like an outsider, like they're looking in on a group of people who really know what they're doing and that they just want to be part of that group. And if they bought this watch or this brand, then they would. If they go back many years, I bet they felt that way when they were buying their first mechanical watch as well, or their first expensive watch. They've climbed the brand tier, so to speak, to finally feel as though they've made it, but they haven't felt that way. But that's because making it isn't a destination, it's a mindset, right? Missing those two brands or not having a Rolex or not having an Omega or a Spring Drive or whatever it is, it's not because you haven't made it. It means you like watches, same as me or same as 1,000 other people watching this video, right? You want each watch because you like them, but it doesn't mean you're gonna make it when you buy the next one. Pull it down, all these watches are the same. Same set of keyless works, balance wheels, mainsprings, drivetrains. The rest is fancy packaging and ornamental arrangements with a few complications to add to the function of the watch. They aren't logical, right? They aren't even that useful in today's modern world, aside from telling the time. So don't worry if you're missing that watch or that brand, right? The stories are the things that you want to have. The stories with the ones you have are the ones you're gonna enjoy more than the next watch you're gonna buy just to buy. The story is everything. The experience with it is everything. And if you're considering buying a new watch, do so because you love how it makes you feel, right? Or the stories you're going to have or have when you purchase it. Buy these things out of emotion. If we feel nothing, we often don't want to buy. So buy it because your wife and you looked at it 2 years ago on vacation. Buy it because it makes you appreciate art or design. Buy it because it simply fits your life perfectly. But how do I pick my next watch, right? I find what I obsess over. I try to see it in the metal outside of the jeweler's lights, and that part's important. I try to reason with myself about how often I'll actually wear it and how well or poorly does it fit into my current collection. Would I replace one of my existing watches? What wrist time does it take from another watch? Does it have the features that I need in this watch? And then finally, do I believe in the watch's history or the brand's history or the story behind the brand? And lastly, whether or not I'm enamored by the watch in a particular way, whether that's design or engineering. And sometimes it can be both, right? Like the Grand Seiko here, I'm mesmerized by the dial, but I also appreciate what is behind the brand in their engineering prowess and their drive towards perfection. And if you want to see my current collection, stay tuned. I have a video in a couple weeks going over that. But in the end, buy what you love, not what some guy on YouTube told you. But how do you guys pick your next watch? Let's talk in the comments. Till the next one. Take care.